If Satan can lead us into sin, we can be destroyed. The Lord's wrath was kindled against Israel, and Balaam tried but failed to curse them. His desire for money, however, would not let the matter end without pleasing the man who hired him, Balak, king of Moab. Balaam's greed drove him to be persistent in finding a way to assist Balak in bringing the Lord's wrath upon Israel. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 15 speaks of Balaam and his love of the wages of unrighteousness. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 15. Abandoning the straight road, that is, the right way to live, they have gone astray. They have followed the way of the false teacher, Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the reward of wickedness. The connection between Balaam's unsuccessful attempt to curse Israel and this subsequent idolatry is made in Revelation chapter 2, verse 14. Revelation chapter 2, verse 14, Amplified Bible. But I have a few things against you, because you have there some among you who are holding to the corrupt teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the sons of Israel, enticing them to eat things that have been sacrificed to idols and to commit acts of sexual immorality. Balaam basically said to Balak, after his failure to curse Israel, I cannot curse these people. But you can get them to curse themselves through luring them to rebel against their God. Send your most provocative girls among them and tell them to tempt the men of Israel to immorality and idolatry, and it worked. Balaam, through his wicked counsel to Balak, got what he wanted, but he also ended up dead among the enemies of God. He only enjoyed his wages for a short time. Numbers chapter 25, verse 4 through 5, Amplified Bible. The Lord said to Moses, Take all the leaders of the people who have committed sin with the Moabites and execute them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. So Moses said to the judges of Israel, Each one of you must kill his men who have joined themselves to Baal-Peor in worship. Take all the leaders and the people and hang the offenders before the Lord. It was important to God that the offenders be judged openly. This was not a sin to be hidden. Such open sin had to be addressed openly. This was a harsh decision, given the strong sense of shame associated with unburied corpses. This was a harsh punishment, but it was in keeping with what God promised Israel in terms of the covenant he made with them at Mount Sinai. Therefore, go, lead the people to the place I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit for punishment, I will visit punishment upon them for their sin. When such sin is tolerated, if not even approved, in a culture, it is a sure sign of decay, and the Lord, speaking through Moses, would not accept such decline. He commanded the community, the leaders and the people, to bring the offenders to be judged, to show they would not accept this kind of sin in their midst. Those who died in the plague were 24,000. It seems that Paul refers to this incident in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 8, Amplified Bible. We must not indulge in nor tolerate sexual immorality, as some of them did, and 23,000 suddenly fell dead in a single day. Numbers chapter 25, verse 10 through 13, Amplified Bible. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned my wrath away from the Israelites, because he was jealous with my jealousy among them, so that I did not destroy the Israelites in my jealousy. Therefore say, Behold, I give to Phinehas my covenant of peace, and it shall be for him and his descendants after him a covenant of everlasting priesthood, because he was jealous, impassioned, for the unique honor and respect owed to his God, and made atonement for the sons of Israel. Because he was zealous with my zeal among them, I did not consume the children of Israel in my zeal. God noticed more than Phinehas' obedience. He was also zealous with my zeal among them. Phinehas was passionate about the same things that God was. In this situation, Phinehas faithfully demonstrated God's zeal against Israel's breach of their covenant with God. It shall be a covenant of an everlasting priesthood to him and his descendants after him. God blessed Phinehas with the promise that he would be the descendant of Aaron through whom the priesthood would pass. This was appropriate since it was Phinehas' zeal that made atonement for the children of Israel, just as it is appropriate for a priest to be the one who ministers atonement to the congregation. God commanded Israel to show no tolerance towards the Midianites, who played a role in seducing Israel to these sins of immorality and idolatry. Israel was commanded to battle against the Midianites every opportunity they had. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 3 uses Baal-Peor as a place name to refer to the incident recorded in Numbers chapter 25 and in the same verse as a designation for the pagan god. You saw with your eyes what the Lord did at Baal-Peor. The Lord your God destroyed everyone who followed the Baal of Peor from among you. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 3. You saw with your own eyes what the Lord did at Baal-Peor. The Lord your God destroyed from among you everyone who followed the Baal of Peor. Joshua chapter 22 verse 17. Was not the sin of Peor enough for us? Up to this very day we have not cleansed ourselves from that sin, even though a plague fell on the community of the Lord. Joshua chapter 22 verse 17 speaks of the sin of Peor, and Hosea chapter 9 verse 10 uses Baal-Peor to refer to the place where this incident happened. Hosea chapter 9 verse 10. When I found Israel, it was like finding grapes in the desert. When I saw your ancestors, it was like seeing the early fruit on the fig tree. But when they came to Baal-Peor, they consecrated themselves to that shameful idol and became as vile as the thing they loved. Psalm chapter 106 verse 28 also talks about Baal of Peor. Psalm chapter 106 verse 28, New International Version. They yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor and ate sacrifices to lifeless gods. Therefore, it would appear that both Peor and Baal-Peor are employed as place names to refer to the location where Israel committed sins related to sexual immorality as well as worship of a particular Baal. In any event, the episode that took place at Baal-Peor stands out as the first of many occasions that Israel lapsed into immorality and idolatry. It also serves as a lesson for Christians to learn from. Because the city of Corinth was riddled with idolatry and sexual immorality, the people of Corinth would have been especially prone to falling prey to this kind of temptation. Paul says, these things happened to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the culmination of the ages has come. The Bible tells us, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to humanity, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Therefore, my dear friends, flee from idolatry. Since Israel fell into sin at Baal-Peor, nonetheless, the fundamental temptations remain the same. In contemporary society, the temptation is ever present, and other idols, including wealth, pleasure, fame, and the good life, also compete with the one true God for a place in the hearts of many individuals. Even today, Christians need to be on the lookout for the sin of Baal-Peor. Baal-Peor.